Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you back to a moment in October of 2002. I attended one of the first debates in Amsterdam on the 11th of September 2001 attacks in New York and Washington. The debate was organized by the publishing house Van Gennep together with a daily newspaper called Trouw. The title of the evening was Islam and the West, Who Needs a Voltaire? Between 8 and 10 p.m., I listened to 5 of the 6 speakers propose a Voltaire for the West. The West was arrogant, imperialist, and cruel, and took without giving. America was most evil of all, and Americans under the control of the Jews were responsible for all the conflicts in the world today. It was too bad that innocent people were killed in airplanes and buildings, but if Americans did not want to be attacked again at home and abroad, they had to change their foreign policy. Islam was a great civilization and only a source of peace. No Voltaire was required there. Only one speaker refuted these claims. Afshin Elian, an Iranian professor of law, then in the University of Amsterdam, pleaded for a reformation of Islam and urged that Muslims embark on a process of enlightenment. I was frustrated, listening to the other 5 speakers talk of Muslims only as victims. I agreed with Mr. Elian, and as he was outrageously outnumbered, I joined in when the audience was allowed to and supported him. I ended my plea with, "The West has countless Voltaires. Allow us just one, please." Then it was time for the break. The organizers of the event and various other intellectuals and journalists circled around me and started to question me eagerly. "Who are you?" "I'm Ayaan." "Ayaan who?" "Just Ayaan. The rest of my names are difficult." It didn't seem appropriate to take them through my bloodline at that time. "Where do you come from?" "Somalia." "Are you still a Muslim?" Of course," I stammered. Dressed in trousers, head uncovered, holding a glass of wine in my hands. I was not a very convincing picture of a young Muslim woman. "Well, a liberal Muslim," I shrugged. At the time, I was not aware of the logical inconsistency in the compound word Muslim liberal. "Where did you learn to speak Dutch so fluently?" "I live in Holland for almost 10 years, I said. "There aren't many places in the world where Dutch is spoken," I always thought when people asked me that question. "Will you write for my paper in which you expand on your intervention tonight about allowing you Muslims a Voltaire?" "All right," I said. "I will show the article to my boss first at the Labour Party think tank." The strangers around, almost all of them prominent thinkers in the Amsterdam scene, continued to question me, interview me, publish my articles, and so on. Weeks later, the guy who first asked me to write an article introduced me to a publisher. In early 2002, I think in March, she and I had a conversation that's not in the book. She asked me what I thought of the debate on the relationship between Islam and the West. I said, "Well, you guys, Westerners, have developed from stages of superstition, ignorance, cruelty, to societies that put an emphasis on reason, knowledge, and humanity. You have created man-made institutions, and you repair them as time goes by. We Muslims haven't done that. We live in tribes, we long for a utopia. Our dream is to build a social order based on the Quran, follow the edicts of Allah, and look up to the Prophet Muhammad for moral guidance and achieve peace, harmony, and happiness by abiding to the laws of Allah. Clearly we have failed. That's why we come here in large numbers. It's quite a journey," I told her, "to let go of the dream of a society designed by Allah." "You won't understand," I said. "You have to know it. You have to live it." "Tell me how you did it," she said. So I told her where I was born, my family, how we lived, and why I came to Holland. That is the book you're going to write, she said. Tell us about your own journey from being a member of a clan to how you have adapted to our society. Tell us what it is that you still value in the moral framework you got from your parents. What you don't like about your old way of life. Tell us what you don't like in Holland and what you appreciate here and why. You overestimate the average Dutch person, she told me. No one has the time to read research papers on conflicting values. You will frighten your audience with terms such as empirical, data, consistency, and conclusion. But your story will help give us an insight into a world that's closed for us. Ayaan, my publisher, continued, do you think we know what goes on behind those closed curtains in Amsterdam West? We don't. Those curtains will open if the girls who live behind them tell us their stories. That is how we Westerners changed. We told each other our intimate stories, our experiences of injustice or of brutality, and we shared our methods of survival. She stood up and gave me books written by feminists in the early 20th century, books written by men who wrote in detail of how it meant to live in oppression, mental oppression inflicted on them by the father at home, the priest in the church, and the policeman on the streets. This was all well and good. I thought my publisher was a persuasive woman who cared about the world. But I didn't want to write a self-help book based on my life. I thought that was pathetic. I wanted to establish myself as an academic, as a researcher, propose a theory, set about data gathering, make a case on consistent argument, draw conclusions, and move on to the next assignment. I felt lucky that the Vieri Beckman Stichting asked me to look into the question, why did the integration of large numbers of non-Western immigrants fail? I gathered whatever was written on the subject since 1979. I concluded that most researchers overlooked cultural and religious variables. I looked for and found theorists who took these variables seriously. I concluded that for the integration of non-Western immigrants to be a success, one, a shift in mentality must occur from being a member of a tribe to becoming a citizen. Education directed at this shift of mentality must be put in place, that the best place to start is by the emancipation of women, and for all the above to be achieved, the approach of multiculturalism must be dropped. Cultures are not equal, but human beings are. For non-Western immigrants to live by the values in the Dutch constitution, they had to discard those tribal and Islamic values that were in conflict with the rule of law. These were the acceptance of man-made laws as opposed to divine dogma when the two clash, respect for the liberty of the individual, his life, property and choice of life, equality before the law, and equal opportunity between men and women, gays and heterosexuals. There was nothing original in my articles. Everything had been said and written before. But all the same, I generated great interest with my redundant articles and interviews. When I wondered why the work of great thinkers who are consistent, precise, and eloquent were not as much in demand, the answer seemed always to be, but they are men. And worse still, they are middle-aged. And worst of all, they are white. If I still looked puzzled after such remarks, then the female or young male with unwashed hair who asked for the interview would be kind enough to elaborate and say, you know, they tend to be racist. Be careful they don't use you as a ventriloquist for their abhorrent ideas. Besides, my publisher were my ever-decreasing Muslim friends and family, decreasing in number. You're selling out. Don't hang the dirty laundry outside. You're a bounty, white from the inside and with a disgusting black surface. Defend the rights of women, but never bring it in connection with Islam. You only want to be liked by the white people. The confusion of race and religion went unnoticed.